the love of all that's holy, check it on the websites that are available. If you've got a diesel car, it's got to be roughly 4 years, younger than 4 years, 4 years or younger to avoid. Roughly, petrol cars around 13. Around. Check on the website. It's £11.50 between 7am and 6pm on weekdays. All vehicle types, apart from London black cabs, are liable for the ULEZ charge. Unless they meet certain emission standards or exemptions. Non-compliant lorries, buses and coaches face a £100 daily fee. Now, it's estimated 100,000 cars, 35,000 vans and 3,000 lorries could be affected. Do check those websites on your vehicle. But we decided to set a challenge because, let's face it, if you're a plumber or a builder or a roofer, it's not easy to put your ladders on the tube or on a bus. So Theo Usherwood is heading a team of reporters who are all gathering close to City Hall, I believe. And I'm about to tell you that we make believe that Buckingham Palace has sprung a leak. There's a hole in the roof, and we need a roofer to do that. We need a plumber, perhaps, to fix a leaky tap. And there are all sorts of other issues. Who's the army that you're assembling, Theo?
Nick, this is one of the craziest ideas you have ever had. We have 4 teams, myself, Lucy Hoff and Rachel Venables, and we're all going to race to fix Buckingham Palace. We're at City Hall, or just around the corner from City Hall, and I'm joined by, we've got Steve, the plumber here. Let's just say that one of Her Majesty's umpteen toilets has sprung a leak, so we're going to be with Steve. And then we've got Frank here, the bottle fitter. Buckingham Palace needs some water bottles fitted up, fresh water, absolutely. And then we're here with the driver. We're going to be driving over to Peter, the driver. We're going to be driving over. Now, Peter is actually going to be driving around the North Circular, or around the congestion charge, to avoid that ULEZ. It's going to take him much longer than he'd otherwise expect. And then finally, Rachel with Shane. Well, let's just say what the central heating has broken down at Buckingham Palace, and they've got all their pipes there ready to go. So just walk us through. So you're going by what means of transport? Rachel's going by. I know the fellow's going around the van, but what else are other people going on? I'm going to go on the train, and then walk. We've got a ladder. We've got some equipment here, and then Lucy's going to be going with on the Clipper, the Thames Clipper, on the boat, lovely, with all of this gift. So we've got a wrench and a plumber here, and then Shane and Rachel are going to be going on the bus. They're going to be going on the bus, so they're going to be getting all these pipes, spirit levels, boxes, and so forth onto. I imagine, I don't know what number bus goes from here, but anyway, you're going to be getting them onto the bus. It's 7:30. The challenge begins now. Go and help. You are on Her Majesty's service. Get going, all 4 of you. One person driving it, as you would, because he's got a van and he needs all his kit. Other people towing spirit levels, ladders, buckets, and Lord only knows what else. Check it out on lbc.co.uk. Yes, watch their progress on lbc.co.uk. The Buckingham Palace on Her Majesty's Nick Ferrari Breakfast Challenge has begun. Coming up after the news, we'll get into more of your views on the Jewish labour movement, the JLM's decision, and also how social media bosses will become personally liable for harmful content. Just turned 7:31. Listen to LBC, Nick Ferrari at Breakfast, the news, Simon Conway.
Drivers of older, more polluting vehicles will have to pay a fee of £12.50 to go into central London from this morning. The Mayor Sadiq Khan says the new ultra-low emissions zone is designed to tackle air pollution, which is leading to thousands of premature deaths. Talks between Labour and the Conservatives on finding a Brexit compromise are expected to resume later. EU leaders will demand a clear strategy when they meet on Wednesday to consider Theresa May's request for another delay. The government's announced plans for strict new rules that require internet firms to take responsibility for their users and their safety. Social media companies which break the rules could face large fines or even access to them being blocked. LBC Weather mainly fine and dry, but heavy showers and thunderstorms will develop across parts of Wales, the Midlands and East Anglia, a high of 19 degrees.
Eddie Mair, Monday to Friday from 4pm on LBC.
What's the way forward?
We should leave the EU on no deal WTO terms.
The WTO's Director General says it's not going to be a walk in the park.
Nothing is a walk in the park, and I hope I'm not suggesting it's...
Some people do. There were plenty of leavers promising how rosy and wonderful it would be and how easy it would be. That's palpably been shown to be not true.
Eddie Mair, Monday to Friday from 4pm, LBC.
The methods used by criminals have always evolved. You're now 40% more likely to be a victim of cybercrime than of burglary. With Hiscox CyberClear, you're covered for all cyber threats. even the ones that don't exist yet. Search Hiscox Cyber Insurance.
5 stars, would definitely recommend. It's a quality car seat. Strong, sturdy and 100% safe. Perfect for our little lad. Not that I'd know. Never even owned a car seat. Don't have a car, don't have kids, don't have a conscience. I don't care if you end up with an unsafe product. Not when I'm getting paid to write fake reviews.
A fake review could cost you more than you think. A Which membership helps you avoid these lies. Search Which for impartial product reviews. Which, keep questioning.
You know your business, what keeps you up at night, and the moments that make it all worthwhile. You know your 5-year plan, and that you really want to be there in 2. We know we can help you get there. Barclays offers unsecured loans of up to £100,000 that can be with you in days or even hours. To apply for a loan that's right for your business, search Barclays Business Loans. Let's go forward. Subject to status, T's and C's apply, guarantee may be needed.
Helen's homecoming lamb.
It's a lot quieter around here since the boys went off to college. Sunday roast was always the highlight. All the family around the table for my roast leg of lamb with salsa verde crust. I'm doing it again today. It's their favourite and... Hang on a minute.
Hi, Mum. We brought a couple of pals back. Is that all right?
Yeah. It's good to have them back. For a couple of weeks.
Make your own homecoming roast with our tender, tasty grass-fed lamb. Food Love Stories. Brought to you by Tesco.
For low tyre prices you can't compare with National Tyres and Auto Care. Exhausts, brakes and batteries too. And we've got a branch close to you. And now you can spread the cost over 3 equal payments with our payment assist plan with no interest and no fees on selected purchases. Call for a quote on 0800 687 687 or find your nearest branch at national.co.uk. National Tyres and Auto Care, helping you spread the cost of motoring. Minimum spend, terms and conditions apply.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
With Xero, spend less time on your VAT return and more on what matters.
7:35. As I say, check out the Nick Ferrari on Her Majesty's Not-So-Secret Service Buckingham Palace Challenge as our tradesmen, I think they are all men, tradesmen, just because of the way it's broken down, by the way. It's the way it worked out. No, you get angry. Most of the reporters are women. They make their way from City Hall to Buckingham Palace. Remember, we will be looking at this in full detail, so I can see the calls coming in now. If I don't get to it, we are doing a full reaction on this from 8 as well, and we'll come back to your views on the JLM. If you're just waking up, that's the Jewish Labour Movement's decision as regards no confidence motion in Jeremy Corbyn, an organisation that's been around, well, for almost a century. Right, all that comes after we dive into the world of business, joined by business commentator, broadcaster Declan Curry, who's with me now. Let's start by talking about Debenhams. Declan, good morning.
Nick, good morning. It's a crunch day for Debenhams because either the company gets a rescue deal today that will repay its lenders, or those lenders will take control of the business later in the week. And it won't surprise you to hear, Nick, that the man at the centre of this is Mike Ashley, the owner
centre of everything, isn't he?
He's in everything on the high street. Remember, he owns House of Fraser, he owns Evans, he owns Sports Direct, obviously, but he's also the biggest shareholder in Debenhams, and he and the other shareholders would be left out of pocket. They'd be wiped out of their Debenhams shareholding if the lenders take charge. Mr. Ashley is also probably the only person around that we know of that has tabled a rescue deal for the business. But his deal would put him in charge of the business. It would also force the banks to scrap almost £150 million of their debts. The banks are not thought to be terribly keen on that idea. So today is the decision day. Either Mr. Ashley changes the deal and he makes a bid that satisfies the banks and the company accepts it, or possibly tomorrow the banks take control of the business and Mr. Ashley loses everything that he's put into Debenhams. It is a high-stakes day for him. By the way, he's launched another attack on the Debenhams bosses. He's disputing what's been said in a meeting between them and him, and he's demanded that they all take lie detector tests.
OK, another story that's been running in the city pages for some time is Nissan and this Carlos Ghosn. What's the latest there?
Mr. Ghosn, who was the superstar boss of Nissan, who rescued it from the verge of collapse, who forged an alliance with the French car company Renault, and who was then sacked after he was arrested and imprisoned in Tokyo on allegations of financial misconduct, allegations which he denies, of course. Well, the latest is that shareholders in Nissan voted overnight to finally kick him off the board of the company. Mr. Ghosn, by the way, is currently not at liberty because he was rearrested in Tokyo last week while well out on bail. He's now facing additional allegations that he used $5 million of the company money for his personal spending. He says his latest arrest is outrageous and arbitrary, and he insists he did nothing wrong.
I like this story about the Red Bull boss, Declan.
Yes, this is the boss of Red Bull. Red Bull, which we know, of course, as an energy drink. University students and people cramming for exams are known.
Well, it has been known for journalists, by the way.
It has been known for some journalists as well as
deadlines to meet,
as a way of keeping going when those deadlines are looming. Well, we are told this morning that the man behind Red Bull has come up with a drink that's designed to do the opposite. A drink to help us get a good night's sleep. Its director is looking at a herbal sleeping aid. It's a drink that will contain extracts of herbs that are traditionally used to improve sleep. He says that it's the time now he says that in the energy business, to really get energy, you need to have a good sleep first.
Good speaking with you. You take a rest now. Declan Curry, business journalist.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC with Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
7:39. A couple of emails coming in on our conversation. We'll come to your calls as well concerning Theresa May and the compromise. This comes in from Phil. What compromises would Remain have made if they had won the referendum? Same subject. Andy in Portsmouth. I just heard you say Theresa May said why she had to compromise. It's not true. She could have taken us out on a no deal. Parliament could have been massively angry, but they could not have stopped her from doing it. Well, bear in mind, of course, that's still where we find ourselves this Friday, unless anything changes. And I remind you, all eyes, of course, on Wednesday in Brussels, but that is currently the plan. Tony says simply, Theresa May is now embarrassing and pathetic. Oh dear. David in Broxbourne. David, what do you say to this supposed compromise? Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, it's more particularly about a point regarding the initial referendum that I don't think has been mentioned, but I strongly feel that only the people who voted in the first referendum should re-vote if there is a second one, which I don't agree there should be one. I don't see why people who are a day older or whatever should now have a vote worth 100% of the vote.
What are you saying? So, hold on a second, sir. So if we did it again, you'd still be assessed on your age of June 20... Where the hell are we? 2016?
Yes. Yeah, those who voted in the first referendum, everybody's saying people have changed their minds. Well, I think they should only be allowed to vote on if it's another
What
referendum.
If they didn't vote in the first one? So, say I was older. By the way, I did vote. I hasten to add. But if I had not have voted June 3 years ago, does that mean I can't vote if it comes round again?
Well, because everyone's trying to suggest that people have changed their minds. So let those people who are now know
my dear
more
fellow,
about
how
it.
would you administer this?
How would you what? Sorry.
How would you administer this? How would you?
Well, you've got the voting list from before, haven't you? So the same people are sent out the new voting.
Yeah, but how do we know whether they voted or not? They might misrepresent themselves.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming there is a way of finding out to know who actually did vote at the end of the day on the electoral register.
Well, I know when you arrive, you give a card, don't they? And they put a line. I don't know about you, but there's a lady with a pen and a ruler.
Yeah.
And she literally, and it always is a lady, by the way. Well, I suppose we could. Wow, it's quite a lot to administer. By the way, just before I let you go, what do you think the answer would be? What do you think would come as a result of that?
I still think that the vote would be to leave.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, can I make just a quick point about the Electoral Society?
If you would, sir.
Yeah. 2 weeks before the referendum, I emailed them to say that no one's seen the draft of the polling the card at the moment, and they sent me a draft, and they just said yes or no. I then questioned them about, is that really it? And they said yes. They subsequently complained that they didn't have a say in how it should have been enlarged, so they're a bit cheeky, really.
Okay. I'm grateful to hear from you. David, thank you. We'll have more Brexit coverage, but we move to other matters, and I mentioned this story is on the front page of the Financial Times. Technology companies in the UK face new rules, sanctions and oversight by an independent regulator as the government says the sector's era of self-regulation is over. Those words come from Digital Secretary Jeremy Wright, who's also, of course, Culture, Media and Sports Secretary, and he joins me now. Talk to us, if you would. Good morning, sir. How will this regulation work, and is there a new body being set up? Good morning.
Good morning. So what we propose is that companies who deal with user-generated content should follow a duty of care. In other words, they should be responsible for doing everything they can that would keep their users safe. And if they don't, there will be an independent regulator who will have penalties available people in order to take action against them.
Is this another Ofcom or like or Ofcom 2 or what is it?
We have a choice. We can either extend the responsibilities of an existing regulator or we can set up a new one. And one of the things that we want to come out of this white paper is a consultation on whether or not we should take the first or the second. And I think it's important that people do have the chance to say what they think on this subject, not just on the choice of regulator, but on a number of other questions as well. No one else in the world has ever done this, so we haven't got an international model to follow. It's a world first, and we should be proud of that. It's something that the UK is taking a lead on, but it's important also we get it right. So there will be an opportunity for people to comment on this.
So what's the timeline, Mr. Secretary? When will we be talking about this in fact rather than review and consultation?
So we produced the white paper today, and everyone will have a chance to see it. There will be a consultation until the 1st of July, and then there will need to be legislation, because if you want to have a regulator and you want to have a duty of care, and we believe both of those things are necessary, then legislation will be needed to enact them. So it isn't going to happen overnight, but it is important that we get it right. And there's a balance to be struck here between taking the urgent action that everybody agrees we need to take and making sure that we get the details right, and that the rest of the world looks at what we do and says, yes, I think that's a sensible way of addressing similar pressures to those we face ourselves, so that Britain can give a lead. And I think that's the objective we're seeking to achieve.
A lot of support from some of your parliamentary colleagues, such as the Home Secretary Sajid Javid and one of your colleagues Margot James, but Tech UK says it is a significant step forward, but making directors liable was, quotes, heavy-handed. That's a fair point, isn't it, Mr. Wright?
Well, I think it's important that the regulator has available to it appropriate penalties to make sure that companies, which can be very, very substantial in scale, are taking seriously what the regulator requires of them. Now, we, as I say, will consult on these penalties. We'll want to hear what people have to say, not just about how significant they are, but how practical they will be. But I do think it's important to have that full range of penalties available. I'd say this too, though, that it's important the regulator takes full account of the need to promote innovation, the need to promote freedom of speech, and the need to recognise that different companies of different scales have different resources, and to focus on those companies that are likely to be dealing with material that presents the greatest threat.
Okay.
All of that should be part of the regulator's remit, and we'll design it as such.
So this is the end of fake news, lastly, Mr. Wright?
Well, you'd like to think so, wouldn't you? But I'm not sure I'd make such a bold claim.
A step towards the end
I think it is a step towards that. Disinformation is something that we believe must be tackled. It's something that many others have also commented upon, and it's something that I think can do real damage to our society. Now, of course, there are many things we need to do to combat disinformation. One of the things that you'll see in the white paper we think is also important is to make sure that public education is improved, that people have the skills and capabilities they need to be able to determine what's right, what's wrong, what's fair, what's unfair, and for companies that promote these kinds of material to actually focus on authoritative sources over unauthoritative sources. So all of those things are there in the white paper, and we think it's important that the regulator takes full account of what's being done in that space.
Good speaking with you, Jeremy Wright. Thank you, your Digital, Culture, Media and Sports Secretary, joining us there. Just to update you on the great Nick Ferrari breakfast show, Buckingham Palace on Her Majesty's Secret Service challenge. Well, our reporter who's going by Thames Clipper has got to the river. That's Lucy Hoff. Rachel Venables is currently walking the wrong way from Buckingham Palace, because that's where she's the nearest. So she's actually in reverse, accompanied by a man clutching some copper piping and a bucket. Check it out on lbc.co.uk, lbc.co.uk. We'll update their progress, and we'll be speaking with... No, the Mayor surprisingly unavailable today. Isn't that a surprise? That's a turn up, isn't it, eh? Sadiq Khan won't do an interview with Nick Ferrari. Cool, well, I never. But at least Heidi Alexander, one of his key deputy mayors, will. It's right after 7:46 LBC News Headlines. Simon Conway.
London's ultra-low emissions zone has come into force this morning, meaning older, more polluting cars have to pay £12.50 to go into the centre. Social media companies will be legally required to protect their users from harmful content under new government plans. And more talks are expected to be held later between Labour and the Conservatives on finding a way forward for Brexit. LBC weather mainly fine and dry, but some thunderstorms in places later, a high of 19 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne. We're very slow on the M25, anti-clockwise in a couple of places. Firstly from junction 17 at Maple Cross to 16 at the M40. And that was after an accident that happened earlier. But all the lanes have been open for a while. And also on the M25, anti-clockwise. Very busy from junction 25 at the A10 to 24 at Port as well, after a car broke down earlier. Very slow on the North Circular Road, southbound to the A13 junction where a van's broken down. And one lane is closed on the A12 southbound at Chadwell Heath because a car has broken down.
This is LBC.
Gennaro loves coffee. You could even say he's obsessed. That's why he's Costa's Master of Coffee. Which is just as well, as he taste tests 5,000 cups a year. That way, he makes sure every coffee you drink is perfect. Taste test it yourself today at your local Costa coffee shop or Costa Express machine.
Call Nick Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973 LBC.
Easter holiday season, a chance for families to get together and share good times with each other. Simply doing the things you all love, whether a traditional kind of celebration your family's enjoyed for years or creating priceless new seasonal memories. At Cordell & Cordell, we focus on helping to keep dads and kids together. If you're a father who might need advice about securing your rights regarding your children, talk to the family solicitors of Cordell & Cordell. Visit cordellcordell.co.uk. Cordell & Cordell, a partner men can count on.
It's playtime at Argos. Save up to half price on hundreds of top brand toys, including Barbie, Paw Patrol and Lego. Get same-day delivery or collect in store and at Sainsbury's. With Argos, you're good to go. Selected lines subject to availability. Offer ends 9th of April. Delivery conditions apply. Order by 6 p.m. 90% UK coverage. Selected Sainsbury's stores.
Please state your reason for this call.
I would like to end my home insurance policy.
Please state your reason for this call.
End my policy.
Please enter your 12-digit passcode. Policy ended.
Finally.
To confirm end of policy, please enter credit card details and pay £50.
With Aviva Plus home insurance, you can pay monthly at no extra cost and with no cancellation charges. New Aviva Plus. Insurance the way it should be.
Excludes Northern Ireland.
Helen's homecoming lamb.
It's a lot quieter around here since the boys went off to college. Sunday roast was always the highlight. All the family around the table for my roast leg of lamb with salsa verde crust. I'm doing it again today. It's their favourite and... Hang on a minute.
Hi, Mum. We brought a couple of pals back. Is that all right?
Yeah? It's good to have them back. For a couple of weeks.
Make your own homecoming roast with our tender, tasty grass-fed lamb. Food love stories. Brought to you by Tesco.
You know your business, what keeps you up at night, and the moments that make it all worthwhile. You know your 5-year plan, and that you really want to be there in 2. We know we can help you get there. Barclays offers unsecured loans of up to £100,000 that can be with you in days or even hours. To apply for a loan that's right for your business, search Barclays Business Loans. Let's go forward. Subject to status, T's and C's apply, guarantee may be needed.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
With Xero, compliant accounting software for making tax digital.
You can check out our ULEZ challenge, toxic tax, whatever you want to call it, as 3 reporters make their way from City Hall with different forms of transport, one by boat, one by bus, one by overground train, because he's taking a ladder with him. This, of course, represents a problem for tradesmen, as it is ULEZ Day. Drivers of older, more polluting cars face a £12.50 to enter the centre of the capital. I talked you roughly through that zone: Buckingham Palace, through the City of London, through broadly City Hall, Whitechapel, up through Southwark and Lambeth. There are websites, but broadly speaking, a diesel car needs to be 4 years old or younger to avoid the charge. A petrol vehicle, 13 years. But I say again, check on the website. Charges apply at all times on top of the congestion charge, which is £11.50 between 7am and 6pm on weekdays. So this one, ULEZ, is all the time. Congestion has not been changed. It's just weekdays 7 through 6. All vehicles, apart from black taxis, are liable, as I say, unless they meet certain standards. Lorries, buses and coaches, £100. Now, unsurprisingly, Mayor Sadiq Khan has declined an interview, but I'm pleased to say Heidi Alexander, who's Deputy Mayor for Transport and Deputy Chair of TfL, Transport for London, joins me now. Heidi Alexander, what do you hope this will achieve? Good morning to you.
Good
morning. Well, what we know at the moment is that there are 2 million Londoners that are living in areas where the air pollution is so bad that it exceeds legal limits. That includes 400,000 children, 400 schools where children are playing out in playgrounds with pretty dirty, filthy air. We also know that there are lots of people who are dying early, and that air pollution is linked to things such as heart attack, cancer, and possibly even things like dementia, as well as exacerbating conditions like asthma. And so by bringing in much tougher standards for cars and all vehicles driving into central London, we hope that we can clean up the air and actually improve people's health and make London a more pleasant place to live.
But Deputy Mayor, I don't for one moment suggest you and your colleagues don't take this seriously. I'm sure you do. But if it's that, and the language you quite rightly use is almost apocalyptic, how does money make it better? If it was that bad, ban all the vehicles. Why should they? Don't worry about the money. Just say they can't come in, period.
Well, what we've actually looked at is how you strike the right balance between cleaning up the air, keeping London functioning, and minimising the cost to drivers. And we anticipate that with the introduction of the Central London ULEZ, we will see a reduction of 45% on road emissions in central London. That will have a very significant effect in the coming years. And so what we're trying to do is be reasonable and proportionate. And I think you would expect us to take that sort of approach.
But Heidi, that still keeps 55% of it. If you feel that strongly, and I sense you probably do, a lorry shouldn't be allowed to come in by paying £100, should it?
Well, I think that what we need to do is seeing cleaner vehicles full stop, and that applies to lorries as much as it does to Transport for London buses, taxis and cars.
But then Heidi Alexander, what of the tradesman or woman who is a plumber or a boiler engineer or whatever, who's got a fairly elderly old van? What is he or she meant? They, as you appreciate, they can't go around by bicycle with all their kit, as I'm sure you're aware. What are they meant to do?
I appreciate that, and I think no one is saying that there aren't some journeys that vans won't be needed for. So that's why the Mayor of London has launched a £23 million scrappage scheme.
Yeah, now, what does that? But per person, if I was a plumber, you know what that offers me for my van, don't you?
Yeah. So if you were a plumber and you had an older polluting van, you could get a £3,500 payment to scrap that van. If you were purchasing a new electric vehicle to replace that, you would get an additional payment of £2,500.
Do you know how much an electric van is, Heidi Alexander?
I was looking yesterday at what the cheapest type of van would be if you needed to get a transit type van and scrap an older polluting van, and that would be about £13,500. Now, clearly, the Mayor of London could do a lot more if the government was prepared to actually put their hand in their pocket and fund scrappage. I mean, the situation, Nick, at the moment is that other cities are also setting up clean air zones. London's the first. We're being really, really bold and radical in this. But it is an unfair situation when the government are actually saying to a city like Birmingham, you can get £36 million, including scrappage, and yet in London we are getting nothing from government. So I do think that having set up a £23 million fund for small businesses and charities so that they can actually get support in moving to having a fleet of cleaner vehicles. The Mayor of London has done the right thing. It's incumbent upon the government now to actually put their hand in the pocket and step up as well.
And lastly, when we speak in a year's time, Heidi Alexander, what sort of level of cut would you want to see? What sort of improvements? How can we measure whether it's worked, ULEZ, in a year's time?
What I want to see, and what the evidence and the research suggests, is that we will see a 45% reduction in road-based emissions.
Well, we'll hold you to that figure. Thank you for coming on the show. Deputy Mayor for Transport and Deputy Chair of Transport for London, Heidi Alexander. London Mayor Sadiq Khan, amazingly unavailable for interview. Now, how are reporters getting on? Remember, nearly 30 minutes, just over 25 minutes ago, they were set the challenge to get from City Hall to Buckingham Palace, where Her Majesty's sprung a leak, unfortunately, in a radiator. She needs some more water, and there's a hole in the roof, whatever it might be. And our reporters are on the challenge. Let's go first to Theo Usherwood. I remind you, of course, is taking the train. Theo, with Steve the plumber.
We've given up. We've already got a cab from where we were at City Hall, Nick, to the station. It's simply too heavy. Steve, what have you got in there, and how much does it weigh?
Well, go into a plumbing job, I never know what I need, so it's an assortment of tools that I need.
You've got a torch, a hammer?
Absolutely everything in there, spanners. Roughly the weight of those 2 bags is around about 20 kilos, and that's without my ladder.
We just gave up, didn't we?
I'm absolutely knackered already, and what we do, 10, 15 minutes.
And you've got a 2006 Vauxhall Combi?
Yeah, and I just spent £500 to take it for its MOT, plus £250 tax. So all this money is gone for me. In 2021, well, looking at the busker across the road, I think I'm about changing my career from a plumber to a busker.
Very good, Steve.
Well done. We'll check in with you again, Steve. Thank you for that. A natural-born broadcaster. I like the music accompaniment. Let's go now with Rachel Venables, who started out by going the wrong way. Hopefully she's now making better progress with Shane. Rachel.
Nick, did I hear Theo correctly there? Did he just say he's got into a cab?
He did. Is he disqualified?
He's, I think, disqualified. We're still walking, Nick. We are on the other side of the road from the bus stop. I can see the bus stop. We're so nearly there. We've been rained on. We're soaking wet. And Shane, just talk to me, because when I arrived this morning, you just handed me a load of toolkits. It's so heavy. What is it we're actually carrying here today?
So I got my drills. I got some fittings, pipes, material.
Some lead weights as well from the And you've got this big metal pipe. Is that just to look good, or does that have a purpose?
Yeah, well, it's hopefully, if I need to repair a pipe, I'll need a piece of pipe.
All right, well, Nick, we're nearly at the shelter. I can see the bus stop up ahead. From there, I think hopefully it should be plain sailing with then a bit of a sprint finish up the Mall at the end.
Rachel Venables will start to head in the right direction with a man carrying a long length of copper piping. She's looking rather angry, Rachel Venables, not least because it's raining. Yeah, we might have to take a view on whether Theo is disqualified. Remember, of course, we've got someone who's just doing the drive regularly, but they're not accompanied. So we'll update you on their progress at getting that distance. And we're also going to Lucy Hoff, who is on the boat, the Thames Clipper, with Frank. Now, how's that going?
Nick, we are on the pier, a short walk from City Hall. We've just missed a boat. A 12-minute walk ended up taking us 15. I've got 2 buckets. Frank, what are you carrying?
Drill, extension lead, all the tools I need, pipe bender.
But we're laden down, Nick, and we missed the Thames Clipper that we were aiming for. We're now stood at the end of the pier waiting for the next one, which is in 4 minutes' time, so it's holding us up a little bit. But once we're on it, I'm feeling pretty confident about our chances. There is, of course, no traffic on the River Thames, but I'd like to reiterate that I do think Theo should be disqualified for getting a cab so quickly.
We will turn to the Ombudsman, don't worry. Lucy, it's before the Ombudsman, don't worry. We await the verdict. We may well have to boot him out, but let's tell him yet. Lucy there with Frank. Lucy Hoff, my apologies, with Frank the tradesman. Thank you. 3.8 miles they're trying to cover, this intrepid team. They're half an hour in already. Stay tuned. More on that. Also coming up, we will get into your reaction of, although we're doing it rather lightheartedly, as for one of those tradesmen, of course, just spending £500 on his Vauxhall van. Every time he brings it in now, he'll have to pay yet more charges. We'll take the impact of that. Plus, in other news, a call to end what's known as a transgender experiment on children. You're listening to LBC. The 8 o'clock news is next.
On your radio, on your phone, and here.
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 8 o'clock, one of the world's toughest vehicle emissions standards has come into force in central London this morning. Drivers of the oldest, most polluting cars and vans will have to pay £12.50 a day to travel into the ultra-low emissions zone. Lorries, buses and coaches affected will have to pay £100. Deputy Mayor Heidi Alexander has told LBC the ULEZ is needed to clean up the capital's air quality.
There are 2 million Londoners that are living in areas where the air pollution is so bad that it exceeds legal limits. We also know that there are lots of people who are dying early, and that air pollution is linked to things such as heart attack, cancer, and possibly even things like dementia, as well as exacerbating conditions like asthma.
The ULEZ initially covers the same area as the congestion charge zone, but will be extended to the north and south circular roads from 2021. The government announced plans for strict new rules that require internet firms to take responsibility for their users and their safety. Social media companies which break the rules would face large fines or even access to them being blocked. It follows concerns over the growth of violent content, fake news and cyberbullying. Culture Secretary Jeremy Wright has told Nick the rules are designed to make the UK the safest place in the world to be online.
No one else in the world has ever done this, so we haven't got an international model to follow. It's a world first, and we should be proud of that. It's something that the UK is taking a lead on, but it's important also we get it right.
Talks between Labour and the Conservatives on finding a Brexit compromise are expected to resume later. EU leaders will demand a clear strategy when they meet on Wednesday to consider Theresa May's request for another delay. The Liberal Democrat leader, Sir Vince Cable, says the Prime Minister would get a majority for her Brexit deal if it was subject to another referendum. A man has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a woman was found injured in a North London street. Police say the victim in her 20s was pronounced dead at the scene near the Brookbank building in Turkey Street yesterday evening. A British woman is said to be facing 2 years in prison in Dubai for allegedly calling her ex-husband's new wife a horse on Facebook. 55-year-old Laleh Shevarevsh from London was arrested in March after going to the UAE for her former partner's funeral. Campaigners say the posts were made 3 years ago while she was living in the UK. The Lbc Markets Report, the FTSE 100 has reopened at 74.46 after closing up 44 points on Friday, and the pound buys $1.30 and €1.16. Lbc Weather, mainly fine and dry, but heavy showers and thunderstorms will develop across parts of Wales, the Midlands and East Anglia, a high of 19 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Simon Conway.
This isn't just the sound of a box containing a great Amazon deal. It's also the sound of the box that makes you a barbecue legend. And this is the sound of the box that gives your house a new lease of life. And this one is the sound of the box that gets you back into shape. The Amazon Spring Sale is now on. Find great deals for your home, garden and more. The Amazon Spring Sale ends 15th of April.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
Morning to you, 4 minutes after 8, Monday, April the 8th. Coming up in this hour, more on the toxic tax or toxin tax, whatever you want to call it, and your opportunity to have your say as our challenge goes on. Also in this hour, calls to what's being called what's called the transgender experiment on children. Staff reportedly quitting the NHS clinic over ethics and fears concerning children's safety. Full details on that. On the subject of safety, how safe is it that smart motorways, where they take away the hard shoulder as and when is required to allow for smooth running of traffic, will be doubled to some 800 miles of them across the country? How concerned should we be? And Paula Radcliffe enters the row over the Boston Marathon. In a week's time, the runners will be assembling. But guess what? Some male competitors who weren't quite quick enough are now self-identifying as women, so they get to run.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
We caught up. You're just joining the show, and I appreciate for some of you do wake up at 8 o'clock. It is toxic tax or toxic air tax or ULEZ, whatever you want to call it today, whatever word works for you, and I'll run through the details of it again in a moment. We've set 3 of our reporters a challenge. They have to get from City Hall to Buckingham Palace. We're playing make-believe that the Queen has sprung a leak in her radiators, or there's a hole in her roof, or whatever it might be. 3 Trey's men are speeding there, well, as best they can, avoiding the ULEZ area, which effectively is the heart, the central of London, from City Hall to actually just past Buckingham Palace, up around City University, down towards Southwark Bridge and around, so the very heart of London. But one tradesman, who's going it alone, there's not a reporter with him, is doing what until today he could have done without attracting an additional fee, which is just driving straight to Buckingham Palace. His name's Peter, who joins me now. Peter, briefly, what sort of trade are you in, sir? What is it? What's your line of experience and professionalism?
A joinery handyman position. So obviously, you know, you've got to have every single bit of tool, every bit of equipment, materials available that you just need to get from A to B. And
And if Her Majesty's needs some radiator covers or some skirting boards or whatever it might be, you've got to have a bit of wood, you've got to have a saw, you've got to have all of that so you can do it all for her, obviously.
Yeah, you've literally got to have every little bit of material, every little tool, because you just don't know what the problems you're going to have when you actually get there on site. And if you've got to get back out again and get back in, it's just absolutely ridiculous. You've got to cover all 100% of everything.
What does this tax? What does the ULEZ charge mean for you and your business, Pete? Do you work in central London much?
Work in central London 99% of the time. It's not always going through. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Extra tax, plus the congestion, the fuel. It's going to end up adding on to the customer, and the customer's obviously not going to pay for it. Or, it's just extra bills.
What do you make of the scrappage? We had the Deputy Mayor saying, I don't know whether you're interested in an electric van or regular, but a regular van you'd get £3,500 towards scrappage. If you wanted to go electric, £6,000. What would that mean to you, Peter?
Well, the electric, I don't think it'll work, because if you do call-outs, etc., I think it works one way, but not the other. But I think personally, you've just got to stick to your same motor. Electrics, that's what they want us to go to, electrics and push bikes. And it just won't work. It just won't work. That's my theory.
Where are you? You're very kindly driving in today for us. Can you tell the progress you've made? Where are you now?
I've just pulled over, obviously gone on hand-free, literally just on the other side of Waterloo Bridge. So I'm literally about 9 minutes away from my destination. But the traffic is absolutely horrendous because everybody's trying to divert and not go through the centre.
Peter, we'll check in. If you could give us a call when you get there, I'd be most grateful. Thank you for that. We'll update our reporters who are making their journey by boat, by train and by bus. We didn't go to London Underground, by the way, because obviously we'd have no communication with the reporter, so it wouldn't have worked. That's the reason, if you're wondering why. Let's speak to people about this idea of ULEZ then. Rosalind Redhead, founder of the Ban Private Cars in London campaign. Are you celebrating today? Good morning to you.
Good morning, Nick. Well, yes, I mean, I think I support the ULEZ. Obviously, I would like it to be more ambitious, but as a first step, I think, yes. I mean, I think, we're moving in the right direction.
There needs to be... Isn't this all stick and no carrot here, though? Many people need their car in central London. There are people with disabilities and there are people whose livelihoods depend on it, Rosalind. You must accept that.
Well, I mean, obviously, I accept people with blue badge. I mean, that's the best use of a car. But if somebody has a disability and obtains a blue badge. But in terms of, the wider, the general public, air pollution affects everybody.
The gentleman I just spoke with, it's a real impact on his trade.
Well, I mean, yes, I think in the short term, I think that people will need to change their lifestyles and the way they approach their business.
What do you mean? He's got a van full of tools and piping and wood and ladders, and what's he meant to do?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at the wider perspective of children dying from air pollution.
I hear you, but what is that? The Peter, the man with whom I just spoke, what's he meant to do with his van?
Well, I think that he has to change his business model, and that's for him to decide, whether he goes for an electric van or he goes for a cargo bike. Logistics, I was at an expo just last week.
Hang on.
And there are plenty of plumbers and electricians now moving towards cargo bikes.
They cost £50,000 an electric van.
Well, no, but I mean, a cargo bike will probably be a couple of thousand. And
how are you going to get his How is he going to get his ladders on a cargo bike?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying him specifically because I don't know.
But how is a person with ladders meant to get around? We need ladders.
Well, I think that people used to do that. So I mean, I think that we didn't always have, electricians, plumbers, carpenters moving around their whole workshop in, like a shed on wheels, going around London. So, I mean, there were ways of doing that, which people, use different methods of business.
You want to go back to horse and cart, do you?
Nick, I think we all know that there are many ways, the cargo bikes that I saw last week.
OK, you keep going on. OK, I've put it again to you, Rosalind Redhead. That's 4 times you've mentioned a cargo bike. How am I going to get my triple ladder on a cargo bike?
Well, I mean, there are ladders that fold down. I mean,
no. Hold on. I've been called because some slates have come off a mid-terrace Victorian house, which needs a triple ladder to get to the top because there's a hole in the roof. How am I going to get there?
Well, you will have to pay the charge. I mean, if you don't have a vehicle that complies with this, you will have to pay the charge.
You're not going to get that lad on a bike, are you? All right, I'm grateful. Rosalind Redhead is founder of Ban Private Cars in London campaign. Steve Wright chairs the Licensed Private Hire Car Association. What are your members saying about ULEZ? Good morning.
Well, it's a hypocritical measure because the licensed private hire cars actually welcome air quality measures, but these ULEZ measures are discriminatory. Private hire vehicles, minicabs and chauffeurs are already very clean. We're up to 28 times more cleaner than taxis, and year on year they're getting cleaner. Taxis are running around 15 years of age, 28 times the pollution, and they're not being charged. The whole thing's a nonsense.
Well, hang on, I don't have that in front of me, Mr. Wright, but I understood what I call a black cab or a London taxi. They have some of the strictest emissions there is. If they're too old, they can't work in London. That's the reality, isn't it?
No, it's absolutely not. They have the weakest, most feeble, Nick. They're allowed to work up to 15 years of age. Studies have shown that they're 28 times more polluting. Now, I accept they've got difficulties with their vehicles, but to actually charge private hire vehicles that we sat down with the ULEZ team and worked out and had all the goalposts moved is ridiculous.
You're telling me that a London taxi can be year 2003, 2004?
That's absolutely correct.
Are you sure about that?
I'm absolutely sure. I sat on the TfL board for many years working on these facts and figures, and that's the fact. 15 years of age.
And for private cars, of course, it's if it's a diesel, it's about 4, isn't it? 4 years of age.
Well, private hire vehicles are allowed up to 10 years, but the reality is the average age of the private hire vehicle is 5 years. It's much cleaner, much greener, and it's getting the ULEZ charges, so it's a tax. It's not something that's going to reduce because the vehicles to move up to the next levels are simply not manufactured yet.
Steve Wright, you're chairman of the Licensed Private Hire Car Association. You seem very confident of that figure. I will triple check it, but you were sitting on the board, so you probably do know. I'm astonished by it. Thank you for that, Steve. Right. Jacob is in St Albans. Let's get your views on it. Jacob, what do you do for a living? Good morning.
I'm a HGV driver in London.
Ah, are you coming in today?
No, I rang the boss up because it was a little awkward today. I was like, boss, why am I not in London? I'm normally in the West End chugging around. He was like, not sending you into London anymore because I'm getting charged an extra £100 a day. And I said to him, like, how much is it going to cost for us to get a new lorry? Because that's a big part of the business. He said, you're looking at 20 to 30 grand plus.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to find, isn't it? What is it you normally take around, Jet? Do you mind? What is it you drive around, or is it never the same thing twice?
I'm in a 12.5 to 18 tonner.
Right. What would you put on that? I'm sorry. Is it like food supplies, drinks?
We do Harrods. We do West End clothing.
Right.
We do deliveries to houses. So, like the slates you were just talking about to a lady, I would actually deliver building supplies.
I see, for the blokes and women to then put it on the roof. I get you. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the sense your company just won't come into London anymore?
They're coming to London. He's going to have to heavily invest in absolutely everything he's had to do. And it's not something you can replace overnight like the big firms.
Yeah.
They've got that money to invest. But if you're a small to medium business, to find maybe 20, 30 grand to invest in a brand new fleet of vehicles, you can't do that really overnight, and it's not going to be feasible. And if we do go into London, we're going to have to say, well, sorry customer, we're going to have to charge you an extra £100 when you're obviously trying to maintain everything else in your vehicle and in your fleet.
Safe driving, Jacob. Thank you. Trawling around London today. We'll have more of your reactions. There's a lot of anger, by the way, plus the idea that they are experimenting with transgender children, fears for the long-term effects of their mental health and well-being. 8:15 now, LBC News Headlines, Simon Conway.
Drivers of older, more polluting vehicles have to pay a new £12.50 daily charge to travel through central London from this morning to tackle air pollution. Senior managers at social media firms could be held personally liable for the protection of their users under new government plans for online safety. And Theresa May is set to continue talks with Labour, trying to find a Brexit compromise ahead of Wednesday's summit with EU leaders. LBC Weather mainly fine and dry, but some thunderstorms in places later, a high of 19 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne. We're very slow on the M25 anti-clockwise from junction 17 at Maple Cross to 16 at the M40 after an accident that happened earlier, but all the lanes are now back open. Also on the M25 anti-clockwise, there are delays of about 40 minutes from junction 25 at the A10 to 24 at Potters Bar, and that's because a car broke down earlier. In Richmond, there's only one lane open on the Lower Mortlake Road westbound just before Kew Road. That's because of emergency gas works, and there are delays all the way back to Manor Circus. And also in Richmond, the Richmond Road has been closed both ways, but that's following an accident.
This is LBC.
Gennaro loves coffee. You could even say he's obsessed. That's why he's Costa's Master of Coffee, which is just as well, as he taste tests 5,000 cups a year. That way, he makes sure every coffee you drink is perfect. Taste test it yourself today at your local Costa coffee shop or Costa Express machine.
Call Nick Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973 LBC.
It's time. Time to join the millions of people that meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. With stunning HD video, crisp audio, and instant wireless sharing across any mobile, tablet, or desktop device. But the best thing about Zoom? It just works. So ditch the distractions, join the movement, and meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Visit zoom.us to set up your free account today. That's zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
Set for Life is the new game from the National Lottery where you can win 10 grand every month for 30 years. So now you can jump into June, make October a scream, and stick a rocket up November. Make every month amazing. Play new Set for Life Mondays and Thursdays. Amazing starts here. Prize may be capped. Rules, procedures, and game-specific rules apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Your business has come this far, but now's your time to soar into the skies of spectacular with a fast, affordable Funding Circle business loan. With decisions in as little as 24 hours and a dedicated account manager, there's no waiting around. So join the thousands of businesses who have taken out a Funding Circle loan and help your business fly. Apply today at fundingcircle.com. Authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. T's and C's apply.
Do you want to give your kids a head start? Think about it. Are you all set up to help with uni fees or a house deposit? No? Then it's time to Wealthify. The sooner you start a junior ISA with Wealthify, the more you can build them a tax-free nest egg. Just invest a lump sum or pay in monthly and let Wealthify do the rest. Start a junior ISA today. For more information, download the app or visit wealthify.com. With investing, capital is at risk and you could get back less than you put in.
The Great British Weather. One day you're cozying in with the family, the next you're chilling out in the garden. But whatever you're doing, Trusted Trader are always on hand to help. TrustedTrader.com have lots of really lovely tradespeople who are vetted, reviewed and reliable, unlike the weather. So for roofers who stop the rain coming in, gardeners for when the sun comes out, and other professionals in their trade, simply visit
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
With Xero, giving businesses of all kinds the tools to take care of the numbers.
Tough times if you need your vehicle in the centre of London. You are now, as of today, in those ULEZ charges. Rod's in New Elton. What's the impact for you, Rod? Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Nick. 300 kilos of tools and equipment on a cargo bike. What planet is that woman on?
Well, she's well-meaning. I just don't think she's in the real work, but she is well-meaning. One must say that.
Okay. Right, the main thing was that I don't know if you realise there is already a hidden stealth charge for using a diesel vehicle in London if you park.
I know, I do. Yeah, absolutely. It's phenomenal. Yeah, a friend of mine did.
50% over and above what you pay to do on-street parking.
Yeah, and so you ring your number, you use your mobile phone, and it works out and charges you extra for the privilege of just putting your car on the street.
Yeah, so for a 2-hour parking session because I do work in Oxford Street and around about there, so that corridor there, a 2-hour session will cost me £25 at the moment, or thereabouts, before I get a screwdriver out the van.
And what is it you do, Rod?
A maintenance electrician.
What do you mean you were?
I retired last Friday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, this was, if you like, the straw.
Seriously?
There was various other things, yes, but it's the straw. I've got a van that at 11 years, sorry, not 11 years old, 8 years old, is running perfectly.
Yeah.
I don't need a new van, but in order to carry on working in London, I would have to get one. Or I have to front up this nearly it's £47 now, isn't it, for a 2-hour session, because you need to at least have a couple of hours to get yourself into the job and see what's going on.
I know exactly what you're saying. Enjoy your retirement, Rod. Good timing. Thank you. Phil in Malden. Phil, what's your story regarding ULEZ? Good morning.
Well, they're just a bunch of morons. To be honest with you, what really annoys me, I've got a diesel van, which is 2010. I spent nearly £2,000 on it last year in maintenance on the gearbox, not a dodgy engine which is pushing out fumes. I've only got a diesel van because the previous Labour government insisted that diesel was best and safest and the healthiest. So I've dumped a petrol van. So I'm now running around in a vehicle which has now become valueless. So all this scrappies money is absolute nonsense, because basically, who's going to buy my van off of me, a trade vehicle? I cannot, this idiot that comes up and tells people that they put it on a bike. Yeah, in 1925, when all you needed was a screwdriver and a hammer and a raw plug tool, now we need drills. We've got more complicated equipment. I've just stopped doing gas work, that's by choice. But, you need analysers. You need all electronic equipment. You can't just run around with a little bag of spanners anymore. It doesn't work like that.
Phil, thank you. Wade in Chingford, you're on the radio, Wade.
Morning, Nick. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm not affected by ULEZ directly, so I'm fine. What about you?
I am totally trying to say the right words here.
Furious, I would imagine. I doubt that you don't sound delighted. Yeah.
I'm absolutely frustrated by these MPs and all the rest of these people who do not live in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
I was out last Friday. Cost me £70 just to work a job in London.
Right.
We have to get tools, ladders, test equipment.
Put it on a cargo bike, Wade.
I'd love to. If you're going to peddle it for me, Nick, if you're going to peddle it more.
Is the reality is people are not aware of what you have to go through? Is that right?
They don't understand, Nick. The lady that was on earlier, Heidi Alexander, said that you can buy a transit-sized van for £13,000.
Yes.
That's a deposit, Nick. Those vans start at about... if you're going to try and get a hybrid one, they don't make them yet in that size. And all the other vans, diesel vans, which are going to be worthless in another 5 years' time, I suspect, start at about £28,000.
Wade, thank you for that. I should point out, of course, the second-hand market, although I realise that doesn't come with the same sort of level of warranty if anything goes wrong, Wade, but just to get that point out there, thank you. Michael says, great if TfL does reduce 45% of road-based emissions, as Heidi Alexander hoped, but we need to know what proportion of toxins are in London's air come from road-based emissions. She craftily failed to mention that vital figure. Bob in Guildford, once again, publicity-based initiative by Mayor Khan. This will be a grain of sand on the beach to deal with global air pollution. Population control. Unless all the world leaders get together and take drastic action, it will make little difference. Phil Martin in Thurrock, a cargo bike. My van is almost 3 tons. I do emergency repairs at hospitals, on MRIs and chillers. People could die. Thank you for that. Just looking, our reporter is now on the boat. So Lucy Hoff, who's on the Thames Clipper with Frank, they have at least got on the boat. We are sailing, if Rod Stewart were around. It doesn't seem to be moving particularly quickly, but they are, ahoy there, they are at least making progress. Let's see who gets to Buckingham Palace first. We changed tack because I do appreciate many of you. Well, I imagine actually if some of you live outside London, you're probably positively laughing at the fact that it's going to cost £24 to drive around the city. Why would you care if you don't live in London? So we move to other matters. And the front page of the Times, the only NHS gender clinic for children is risking a live experiment by sending hundreds for life-changing medical intervention without sufficient evidence of its long-term effects, so experts have warned. The Times has spoken with 5 clinicians who resigned from the service because of concerns over the treatment of vulnerable children who come to the clinic presenting as transgender. They believe some gay children struggling with their sexuality being wrongly diagnosed as transgender by the Gender Identity Development Service, and all 5 former staff were responsible for deciding which trans-identifying youngsters should be given hormone blockers to halt their sexual development. They warn that vulnerable children and teenagers have been sent down the path towards transition before experts had time to fully assess the causes of their gender confusion. Stephanie Davis Arise, founder of Transgender Trend, a group for parents who question the transgender narrative. How is this to be addressed, would you say? Good morning.
Good morning.
we need to stop the influence of lobby groups in schools and on the NHS, because I think it is that has produced this situation where clinicians no longer feel able to take the care and the time it takes to understand what's going on with each individual child who presents with gender dysphoria.
Why are these lobby groups so powerful?
I think they're very well funded. I mean, Mermaids has just had a grant of £500,000 from the Big Lottery. They're funded by organisations like Children in Need and the Big Lottery. Government funded a lot. Mermaids is funded by the Department for Education. So is Gyres, Stonewall. You know, all of these organisations are pushing for affirmation only. So any child, any boy who says, I'm a girl, all the adults must say, yes, you're a girl. Any girl that says she's a boy, yes, you're a boy, no question, because to question it is transphobic. So that's the situation we're in. So everybody who does question is called transphobic, and that's really serious. Not just people like me who get attacked on Twitter and called a bigot, but if you're a professional, if you're a clinician, you could lose your job. You could be accused of transphobia and bigotry if you don't immediately affirm a child. So that's the situation that's been created.
Good speaking with you, as always. Thank you, Stephanie Davis, Arai, your founder of Transgender Trend, 8:27. Back to your ULEZ anger in a moment. But the first of our tradesmen has got there, but, of course, he went the conventional way. It's Peter, again, who set off in his van. Peter, you're there now, are you? Just outside Buckingham Palace?
I certainly am.
So that took up the thick end of an hour, but you reckon a lot of that was because people are trying to dodge the ULEZ zone, Peter?
That is absolutely correct. Everywhere was just bumper to bumper, trying to go around all the way around the outside, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them one little. I don't blame them at all.
I don't know whether you heard one of my contributors. You should put all your kit on a cargo bike.
When it's not 1960, is it, or 1970 no more?
No, it's not. Indeed, it's not. Peter, I'm grateful for your time. What's your last name, so I can pay you off in due terms and say thank you for your time? What's your name?
Peter Landers.
Peter Landers, thank you. And have you got a company, or are you just a private trader?
Yep. No, I've got a company. Victoria Park Interiors is our company's name.
And good luck with it, Peter. Thank you very much for giving us such a chunk of your morning. Let's talk with Richard in Colchester. Safe journey back to wherever you're off, Peter. Richard, what's the impact on ULEZ for you?
Hi, Nick. I own a company called fireplacefitters.co.uk. We fit fires and fireplaces. 3 months ago, we were hit with the government telling us that they're going to ban wood burners, which clearly they're not. It's just with reference to making people burn proper wood and fuels. I've now been hit with this ULEZ tax on my vans. All my vans are not compliant anymore, although they're only 4 years old. It does tend to make me wonder why I want to get up in the morning and go to work in London.
Well, you won't. Presumably, you won't. You'll have to charge your customers in London more money. That's the only way you can do it, isn't it?
This is the problem. The problem is that we will pass this on. We have now put onto our quotes that ULEZ tax, CC London. And it will be passed on to the customer. That's the problem. But my biggest question is where is this money going to go? Is it going to go to making the air cleaner? Is it going to go to hospitals? It's a massive amount of money that they're taking.
Good luck with the business you're running, Richard. Thank you. Let's check in with one of our reporters. We'll give you full news updates. It's Rachel Venables, who's travelling, of course, on the bus with the tradesman. Rachel, how's it going?
Pretty good, Nick, actually. I have to apologise to all of the passengers who were on the 453 bus to Marylebone. They didn't know what hit them. Quite literally, I think one man did get cuffed around the head with that copper pipe. I'm going to blame Shane for that. And he was also holding a spirit measure and 3 toolkits. Shane, how do you think we're getting on? We're nearly there, about 10 minutes walk away now, I think, Nick.
Oh, that'll be great. I can't wait till we get there. It's a bit of a struggle here.
He's walking a bit like, if you've ever played the game Buckaroo, Nick, that's what Shane looks like at the minute. He's laden. He's got a toolkit under each arm. He's got a kit over his back.
Yeah.
I'm holding the microphone. I'm doing a lot of hard work here.
Yeah, I can see exactly what Shane is carrying. It's a good job. He's a strong lad. He's taking half a kit. He's got half of a B&Q behind him there. Good luck to him. Let us know when you finally check in. We'll check where our other reporters are in a moment. And also coming up after the news that Meghan Markle has snubbed the Queen's doctors for the birth of her baby. She doesn't want men in suits delivering the child. We'll have more on that after this. You're listening to Breakfast with me, Nick Ferrari, here on LBC. The 8:30 news is with Simon Conway.
London's new ultra-low emission zone has come into force this morning, a daily charge for the most polluting vehicles. Some cars and vans will have to pay £12.50 to drive into the centre of the capital, while non-compliant lorries, buses and coaches will have to pay £100. Senior management at internet companies could be held personally liable for the protection of their users under government plans for online safety. The proposals would see social media companies overseen by an independent regulator. Talks between Labour and the Conservatives on finding a compromise on Brexit are expected to continue later, but time is running out for Theresa May ahead of a summit with European leaders this week, where they'll decide whether to approve a delay. LBC Weather mainly fine and dry, but heavy showers and thunderstorms will develop across parts of Wales, the Midlands and East Anglia, a high of 19 degrees.
The Nigel Farage Show, LBC.
I think a second referendum, once the first one's been implemented and the country's had a few years to look at it, I think that is a valid proposal. But any form of second referendum before you've enacted the first one is wrong. And I have to say, this confirmatory referendum they want to put to us of Remain or sort of Remain, frankly, isn't good enough.
The Nigel Farage Show, Monday to Thursday evenings from 6 and Sunday mornings from 10 on LBC.
Unlock the city with the new Range Rover Evoque. Know your side streets. From your inner city beats. Know your underbelly and where to fill your belly.
Your lamb, madam.
Know your north from your south. Live for the city with the new Range Rover Evoque. Land Rover, above and beyond.
At every stage of our lives, we've had help with certain things, like learning the recorder, mastering technology.
Even my passwords need passwords.
So, if you're over 60, ask about getting extra help at home or financing a move to a care home. Independent Age, the older people's charity, is here to help. For your free guide about care, call 0800 319 6789 or visit independentage.org.
I want to play a game with you. All your files are now encrypted. If you try to restart your computer, I will delete 1,000 files as punishment.
You've just heard a real threat from a real cyber attack. Hiscox are experts in small business insurance. We cover the costs of dealing with an attack and we'll get you back up and running fast. Hiscox, ever onwards.
The Great British Weather. One day you're cosying in with the family, the next you're chilling out in the garden. But whatever you're doing, Trusted Trader are always on hand to help. TrustedTrader.com have lots of really lovely tradespeople who are vetted, reviewed and reliable, unlike the weather. So for roofers who stop the rain coming in, gardeners for when the sun comes out, and other professionals in their trade, simply visit TrustedTrader.com.
When your equipment breaks down, usually at the worst possible moment, your business becomes all stop, stop, start, stop, start, stop, stop.
Whatever your business, our finance can keep things flowing. We are iWalker, and we offer loans from £1,000 to £200,000. iWalker. Search it how you say it.
Oh, it started again.
iWalker, helping business flow.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
With Xero, accounting software that makes your digital VAT returns easy.
The idea of this cargo bike has not gone down well. 8:35, Vic in Bushy. I'd only get one to use it once all the tools have been stolen in no time at all. I've never heard anything so stupid. Jay in Reigate, career politicians are people who are causing the problem. They've not worked in the real world. People suggesting cargo bikes have no idea what tradespeople need. Well, in fairness, that lady is not a career politician. She's a campaigner, and she's not here necessarily to defend herself, although I do think the idea of a cargo bike is really indefensible anyway. Mike in Denham, no mention of the bicycle lanes, which have stopped traffic flows, producing more pollution. I keep misreading. If Sadiq Khan and Heidi Alexander have a burst pipe in their £1 million houses, if I get a call from either of them, I will point blank refuse to come and do the job, or charge them £500 for a call-out. Let's go back to your views on this. Mike in Worthing, what's the impact? Well, you're in Sussex. Do you work in London a lot? Good morning, Mike.
Yes, I do. Hello, good morning, Nick.
Yes,
I do. I work at night or at weekends, mainly.
Yep.
And I come in by car because we carry a lot of technical equipment.
What is it you do?
Sometimes I actually look for bugs.
Oh, okay. Well, hang on. Do you mean electronic bugs?
Yes, eavesdropping devices.
Yeah.
And so we have to carry a lot of technical equipment, and also I have to carry maybe 2 or 3 guys with me if we're searching.
Right.
So, for instance, this morning we started at 2 a.m. in a hotel in London, and we finished at 7, and we're on our way back now. Well, obviously that congestion charge is going to, cost us money. We'll pass it on to the customer, but nevertheless, it's still unfair if we have to pay for it.
What do you think is causing the slow traffic in London?
It's just the amount of traffic at the roadworks. I've just come down the 23, and the 23 is chaotic, even going south at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
It's just
I think we lost you. A bug's got you. Mike, safe driving if you can hear me. Kremlin coming in and stopping that call, or Mossad, one of the two. Safe driving. Mustafa in Bexley. Mustafa, you've tried to scrap a vehicle, have you? Is that right?
Yes, I actually live in the congestion zone.
Yes.
And I applied for the scrappage system after waiting a long time. Finally got an email, because you can't get to speak to anyone, saying, no, you're not entitled because you haven't been in and out the congestion for more than 52 times. But I live in it.
Oh, that's right. There's certain criteria, isn't it? You have to. Yeah, of course.
But I live in it, but I live before 7 and get in after 6. So I live in congestion, and I got a permit, residential permit in the congestion zone. Yeah, they refused it. I've resent another explaining that I live in there and I have to go in and out. I've got no choice. I'm still waiting for a reply.
What does it mean for your business?
Well, I don't know. I have to stop today. I had to leave my van at my son's house in Mottingham. So I had to drive from London Bridge all the way to Mottingham to pick up my car to go to Bexley. But that's only because I got a contract in Kent for a couple of weeks. What happens when I don't have it? And I don't know what I'm going to do.
And you can't qualify for that scrappage. Thanks for that, Mustafa. We move to other matters now. Much as in the previous hour, we looked at the story. It was the front page of one of the Sunday papers, the Sunday Times. Yesterday's Mail on Sunday led with the story of the Duchess of Sussex, or Meghan Markle as she was once, reportedly snubbing the Queen's highly regarded medical team and saying she doesn't want men in suits to ever see the birth of her first child. The paper terms it a significant break with royal tradition. Meghan has appointed her own delivery team, led by a female doctor as yet unnamed. Phil Dampier is royal commentator, broadcaster and author of many books, including Royally Suited, Harry and Meghan in Their Own Words, and he joins me now. How big a break is this and how significant is it in reality? Phil, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Well, I've never heard royal doctors called men in suits before, men in scrubs perhaps, I don't know, but this is the latest of a long line of stories we've had about this birth that we're all waiting for. We're all getting very excited about stories that Meghan's mother is going to come over from California, stories that she's going to hire a doula. Is it a doula?
Yes, it is, a doula, indeed, yeah.
And also that she's not going to have it at the Lindo wing, where all the other royal births have been recently. Kate had her 3 children at St Mary's in Paddington. I have to say, a note of caution. Excuse my voice, sorry, I've got hay fever. I have to say, note of caution, that none of these stories yet have been confirmed by the palace. When I checked in with them last week, they actually said that they wouldn't be saying anything else for a couple of weeks. So none of these have been confirmed.
Is it a flyer,
and
this one?
The Mail on Sunday does cover itself by saying that the Queen's doctors will be on hand in case anything goes wrong. But I think if the story is true, and I don't know whether it's true or not, they haven't commented on it, but if it's true, then obviously it is a radical departure, and it just feeds into this narrative that Harry and Meghan really want to do everything their own way, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if the first pictures that we see of this long-awaited baby are on their Instagram account, which they set up last week.
So I know the date will be etched in your diary. Unfortunately, it's not in mine. When roughly are we talking about for blast-off for the baby, Phil?
Well, I think they indicated it's going to be late April, early May, and as you know, Meghan's retired from all jobs at the moment, so we're all waiting for it. But I think that the fact that they've gone back onto social media, and this baby's going to be 7th in line to the throne, which is quite a way down the pecking order these days, but the interest worldwide is absolutely extraordinary. I think they really feel they want to control the media when it happens.
OK, and it's not the Lindo wing you mentioned, is that correct? Because that's the normal home.
That it's not the Lindo wing. Of course, they've moved to Frogmore Cottage in Windsor now, so they will probably want to have it, possibly in a hospital in Berkshire, much nearer to home. Were in suggestions they might have a home birth. I don't think that would happen. I don't think the Queen would be very happy about that. But it looks more likely to be a hospital in Berkshire.
And you'll, of course, be covering, and I sense we'll be speaking again. Phil Dampier, thank you, royal commentator, broadcaster and author, and in this arena or area, royally suited. Harry and Meghan in their own words would be the appropriate tone. Right, we are close to, I think, completion of the Nick Ferrari ULEZ on Her Majesty's Not So Secret Service Challenge, where a team of reporters set out with a team of tradesmen to make it from City Hall to Buckingham Palace. Theo Ushwood, our political editor, is one of those intrepid reporters, although he might be facing disqualification. Theo, where are you?
I've made it to Buckingham Palace with Steve. Nick, listen, we've had to cheat twice.
Yeah.
So we got a taxi.
Right.
We got a taxi from the car park where Steve dropped his van to London Bridge Station. You can't actually get a bus down the Mall that we could see. So we had to get in a black cab again.
Right.
I think we've come second.
Who have you come second to?
So didn't I hear the guy in the van got
Oh, yes, yeah, sorry to pick you. Oh, no, he's there already. He's there and gone. Yes. Well, you might just think you've come second, but Britain might not be able to Brexit, but you are officially exited from this challenge. That is the decision. Well, unless, of course... Now, who are you with? Remind me who you're with.
I'm with Steve.
Yes,
I'm with Steve.
Steve, make the case for you not being excluded. You have cheated, and you've cheated twice, and you've been caught. Steve, we feel you should be excluded.
Right, no. I mean, thank God he was with me to help me carry my tools. I was struggling. I'm just wondering if he wants a second job and come and give me a hand carrying me tools around London.
I think anything to give him a break from Brexit. That's why he came to this with such relish. Theo, well done, Theo. Steve, thank you. Unfortunately, you are disqualified. So, Rachel, Lucy, if you're listening... And I look across and I just see me when I looked across at the screen. I'm supposed to see reporters and I just saw myself. Rachel... Lucy, the race is on. One of you two can win, and it's the first one to get there. Can we have a sit rep where they are, please, as I talk with Cam in Waltham Forest? What's ULEZ impact going to be for you? Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Nick, and all your listeners. First of all, I think that people seriously don't understand the impact it has on small business. We, first of all, run a small tipper and grab company. We can deliver construction materials into the city and take hardcore waste, soils, that kind of stuff away.
Right.
We have no option because the business can't operate if you've got to pay £100 a day. Now, the impact on us is that whereas before we could purchase a vehicle for £10,000 to £15,000, now it costs you nearly £80,000 to change. And I personally know of 3 companies, small companies, that have gone out of business for this particular reason, or one-man bands. I mean, the bigger companies, they can afford to purchase the new vehicles, but this is having a serious effect on small companies that just can't operate, just can't afford to invest that kind of money to carry on with their business.
What's it mean for your business, lastly, then? You will carry on?
We will carry on. I mean, we've actually reduced our fleet, whereas previously we ran 12 vehicles. Now, at the moment, we're running 7. And, you know, it's just a big, big strain. We've had to take on a lot of debt to even run those 7s because the vehicle you're purchasing is costing nearly 6 times the amount of an older vehicle.
Thanks for your input, Cam. We will come to our reporters on this. They've just given me a screen to look at. And if this is real, how has Lucy Hoff got on the wrong side of the Mall from the river? I don't understand. This can't be right. They do seem to be very, very close. So one of these people, if they can hear me, let's try and check in with them. Oh, here we go. Right, Lucy is just entering the Mall. Well, not on here, she's not. But OK, Lucy is just about to enter the Mall, so she's very close. Rachel is passing the Japanese embassy. Oh, well, that helps us all, doesn't it? Of course. What are you doing this weekend, Nick? Are you serious? I'm going to the Japanese embassy. Come on. Where is the Japanese embassy? Into Green Park. It's neck and neck, isn't it? Who's going to be the winner of that one? Stay tuned for... Take one last quick view on Johnny in Finchley. Johnny, what's it mean to you? Good morning.
Morning, Nick. I work with Green Tomato Cars. We're a private hire company.
Yes, I know.
And it's just clear it's not going to reduce congestion because people don't get in taxis and minicabs because they just happen to want to go for a drive around. They take them because they need to go where they're going.
It's just to make money, isn't it, Johnny?
Why don't they just be honest and call it a tax, which is all it is? And even in their own figures, the GLA admits that there's going to be a maximum 1% reduction in congestion. And then the idea that you're going to get a 45% reduction in emissions, harmful emissions, is just crazy. That basically means that 45% of vehicles are going to be changed to be low-emitting vehicles.
Johnny, thank you for that. It is just for the cash. We will stay with this. Who is going to win the challenge? You'll probably find out the other side of the news. We'll also be getting into a row over the Boston Marathon. As Paula Radcliffe says, transgender runners who are identifying as females now get unfair advantage. Details later in the show. 8:45 LBC News Headlines, Simon Conway.
London's ultra-low emission zone has come into force this morning, meaning older, more polluting vehicles have to pay £12.50 to go into the centre. Social media companies will be legally required to protect their users from harmful content under new government plans. And the government is set to hold further talks with the Labour Party to try to find a compromise on Brexit ahead of an EU summit this week. LBC weather mainly fine and dry, but some thunderstorms later, a high of 19 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb. Still delays of about 40 minutes on the M25 anti-clockwise to junction 25 at the A10, and that's because a car broke down earlier. Delays on the M11 northbound to junction 7 at Harlow, just off the motorway. The traffic lights at the junction roundabout aren't working correctly, so there are delays on all approaches, but those delays back into the main carriageway northbound. Very busy on the A13 westbound approaching Ripple Road in Barking because of an accident, and delays on the M23 going northbound up to the M25 because a car's broken down within the roadworks.
LBC.
Well, they're all lined up in the blocks for this 4x400 men's relay race.
On your marks, get set.
And they're off. Our man's got a quick start. Look at him go into the first bend, gaining ground. Hang on, what's our number 2 doing? He's taking selfies with the crowd. Get ready, man. Take the baton. No, too late. It's a disaster.
Don't get left behind now that Making Tax Digital is here. Xero online accounting software makes submitting your digital VAT return easy. Try Xero free for 30 days. Ask your accountant or visit xcro.com.
Call Nick Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973. This is LBC.
It's time to expand, and next door is available. But why are your plans waiting to get off the ground?
Whatever your business, our finance can keep things flowing. We are iWalker, and we offer loans from £1,000 to £200,000. iWalker, search it how you say it. iWalker, helping business flow.
It's playtime at Argos. Save up to half price on hundreds of top brand toys, including Barbie, Paw Patrol and Lego. Get same day delivery or collect in store and at Sainsbury's. With Argos, you're good to go. Selected lines subject to availability. Offer ends 9th of April. Delivery conditions apply. Order by 6 p.m. 90% UK coverage. Selected Sainsbury's stores.
Hey, you know what they say. Go big or go home. So get yourself to Big Motoring World for up to 2,000 used BMWs, Audis, Mercedes, VWs, Nissans, Fords, Vauxhalls, Peugeots, Fiats, Mitsubishis, Citroens, Hondas. Oh, I know that's a big list, but I already told you. Go big or go home. See bigmotoringworld.co.uk or find them minutes from the M25. Hit it, ladies.
Big Motoring World.
5 out of 5. It's a fantastic smart TV, decent value for money, and the picture quality is incredible. Not that I've actually watched it, never even used it. That's right, this is a fake review, and I can paint quite the picture for the right price, of course, wasting your time and your money.
A fake review could cost you more than you think. A Which membership helps you avoid these lies. Search Which for impartial product reviews. Which, keep questioning.
You know your business, what keeps you up at night, and the moments that make it all worthwhile. You know your 5-year plan, and that you really want to be there in 2. We know we can help you get there. Barclays offers unsecured loans of up to £100,000 that can be with you in days or even hours. To apply for a loan that's right for your business, search Barclays Business Loans. Let's go forward. Subject to status, T's and C's apply, guarantee may be needed.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
With Xero, spend less time on your VAT return and more on what matters.
10 minutes before 9. Who is going to win the ULEZ challenge? Theo Usherwood has been disqualified. It's a fact. More calls on this coming in. Let's speak with John in Croydon. John, you're on the radio. What are you going to tell me? Good morning.
Oh, good morning,
Yes.
Nick.
Yes.
Yeah. There are all these people like going about their vans.
Yes.
Right. Well, I've been doing plumbing since 1974.
Right. Golly.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've
deserve
been
a rest.
using public transport all the time, carrying my tools around.
What?
And you're talking about a lot of tools.
Well, sorry, are you a plumber?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
How do you move lengths of copper piping around?
No, not copper pipe. No, not copper pipe.
Well, what do you mean? No, copper pipe.
No, because I always get that delivered.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, but hang
See what
on.
I'm saying?
If I've got an emergency job, right, and I need you, then there's no point in saying, well, I can get it delivered tomorrow afternoon at 3, and it's flooding the basement. I need you to do it there and then.
Right.
What are you going to do then? I mean, do you carry one of those, what is like blow torches around? You got those with you, have you?
Well, with blowtorch, yeah.
You've got one of those, have you?
Got copper benders.
Oxy-acetylene welders, you've got all of that on the bus, have you?
Not oxy-acetylene welders, no, obviously not.
But what about half a gas boiler, if you've got to put that in?
No, of course not.
Well, so it's freezing cold, my boiler's gone, the pipe's burst, and it's flooding the basement, when you very kindly turn out and you say, I tell you what, I can get all the stuff here by 3 o'clock tomorrow. It's not really going to work, is it, John?
Well, I don't know. I'm not... What I'm saying is, right...
My dear chap, you don't think all these other plumbers are driving around with vans just because they just for the fun of it. Hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drive a Ford Transit or a Mercedes or Renault van around full of bits of metal just for the laugh. They do it because they have to, John.
No, Nick, what I'm saying is, right, I've been working since 1974, working on building sites, yeah?
Right.
So...
Yeah, but you're not the sort of person then who does, residential jobs. Do you see what I mean?
No, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I see what I mean, and credit to you. But you arrive on site, and the foreman, or forewoman, has ordered all the piping, has got the welders for you, has got all the kit that you need, and you arrive, obviously, with your tools. Fantastic, I get it. But if you're doing residential, it's not really going to work. John, of Safe Work, wherever you might be going by your bus today, thank you. We'll have more on that in a moment. In a related story, but this moves away from London for the whole country, get ready for smart motorways being extended to almost 800 miles. This despite concerns over their safety. And you may recall, tragically, I think it was last week or it might have been the week before, my apologies, we were actually reporting on the death of an elderly person who used the hard shoulder as it was because of a breakdown and sadly was killed. Highways England say smart motorways, which of course means you don't have a hard shoulder, are safer as they have emergency lay-bys. What happens if you can't get to one? Motoring groups fear the removal of the hard shoulder will pose a risk. Vehicles will have no choice but to stop in what are called live lanes. Interestingly enough, without blitzing you with too many figures, a recent safety assessment of a stretch of smart motorway on the M25 in Kent found, stay with me, crashes had reduced by 29% with 9.3 registered per 100 million miles. Oh yes, it was last month. The AA talked about the death of an 83-year-old, that's right, on the M1. What's the reality of this? Let's turn to Rod Mackenzie, who's spokesman for the Road Haulage Association, and so many of your members, Rod, are going to be affected by this because those heavy vehicles, these lanes are normally their homes. Morning to you.
Good morning, Nick. I think there are a couple of things about smart motorways. As with so many bright ideas, it sounds like a good idea because it's a way of cutting congestion. You buy yourself an extra lane on a motorway. Why not? What's not to like? But there are loads of problems with it. And firstly, the problems have been all the roadworks that have disrupted traffic all over the place. You've talked about some of the issues. And the other thing that worries us is these refuge areas. Some of them are very far apart, and that is a worry. If you break down, will you make it to the refuge area? And then if you don't, you're stopping in a live lane. The other thing to worry about is the overhead gantries, which are supposed to flag up that there's a red X, so don't go down there because there's a problem. Not all of them are yet operational, and they certainly need to be so that we can close live lanes quickly if tragedies like the one you've spoken about are to be avoided.
Yeah, absolutely right. While I have the benefit of you on the line, we're talking a lot about ULEZ, which of course has come into operation here in the very heart of London, if you will, the central London zone. Now, the impact for some of your members is going to be huge. We're talking about £100 here.
Absolutely. We think it's simplistic and we think it's anti-lorry. Lorries only account for 6% of NOx emissions in London. 6%. And yet they're being clobbered with a £100 a day fine if they're older than 2014 registered. And here's the thing. Delays in London have got worse. Traffic volume has fallen by 7%, but delays are up 18% in recent years, and only half of the lorry fleet is this compliant Euro 6. So mostly they're small and medium-sized businesses. The other 50% will be hit by this massive £100 a day charge.
But your members, your men and women who drive those lorries, they want to breathe, and for their children, they want to breathe clean air, don't they, Mr. Mackenzie?
Absolutely, and we all want to breathe clean air, and we should be we should be aiming for that, all for that. What we're talking about here is phasing. And first of all, Mayor Khan, actually the air in London is getting cleaner all the time anyway. But it is important that we phase out the older lorries, but a lorry lives for 10 years and they cost £85,000. So if you've got a pre-2014 lorry, you need a bit more time to upgrade to a Euro 6.
I'm grateful for that, Rod. Thank you indeed. Rod Mackenzie, you're with the Road Haulage Association talking about the lifespan of a lorry and the impact of ULEZ, which leads us neatly to the end of the ULEZ challenge. I've just been told on my ear who to go to, who is the winner, and because Theo Usherwood is disqualified and returns home in utter disgrace and does not get this campaign medal. But the winner, the Cambridge, if you will, of this is Lucy Hopp, who joins me now with Frank. And, of course, you got, appropriate enough to use the boat race as a metaphor, you did get the boat, didn't you? Good morning.
Morning. I'm absolutely thrilled, Nick. As is Frank. We're just on the Mall. I'm carrying 2 buckets. I've got a pipe bender in one hand, and Frank's got an extension cable. And we're absolutely delighted to find out that we've won this challenge, and very surprised, in all honesty. It's an hour and 20 minutes since we set off. The Thames Clipper, we missed the first one because we were carrying so much kit on the banks of the Thames on the way to the station.
Just ask Frank this. If when he gets there, His Majesty, the problem in the palace is far greater, how fit does he feel now to start scaling ladders and tackle wherever it might be? He spent an hour and a half, poor soul, like a pack mule getting there.
How fit are you feeling, Frank? Are you ready to do a big job inside the palace?
Yeah, of course I am. Yeah, without doubt. Yeah, I'm fit. I'm eager to go now. I've carried all my tools about 3 miles. Yeah.
Congratulations to you. Well done, Frank. Lucy Hoff, well done. You are the Cambridge University. Coming in Oxford in second place, and Rachel Venables, who, of course, they would travel by bus with Shane. Rachel.
Hi, Nick. We've just made it to Buckingham Palace. We're stood outside the gilded gates. The tourists are here, gutted to come in second place. I cannot believe it. Shane, now you've got your kit here. What jobs can you do for Her Majesty? We're exhausted, but it's ready to start the day. What can we do?
Unfortunately, I can't do too much. I've got a pipe.
He just wants to lie down.
More than likely, I'm going to look at the job and go, okay, I need some of that and that and that, and then I'll be back on the bus, back to the hardware store and get what else I need.
You're saying we're going to have to go back to your van because you've not brought everything with you?
No, well, you have to look at the job first, see what I need. So more than likely, I haven't got everything I need. So you have for another walk back to the van.
All right. Well, then a key question. First day of ULEZ, is this sort of commute possible for you? Would you be taking the bus, maybe the 453 or some other wonderful route bus, or will you be taking that in the future?
Honestly, it's not possible to do a job without the van. It's just not possible. Because, as I say, you look at the job, you see what you need, and then you run down to the van, you open up the van, grab what you need, and without the van, it's just not possible. Absolutely not possible.
All right, I'll leave it there. Rachel, if you can hear me, thank you. My thanks to Shane Rachel. That's Lucy Hoff is the Cambridge University boat. Rachel Venables is, of course, the Oxford boat came in second. Theo Usher was rowing for Hull and, of course, was disqualified. And thanks to all the tradesmen involved and to the reporters. That's the end of the challenge. Conversation continues. Coming up after the news, we move to other areas. It's a different sporting event, if you will. It's the Boston Marathon. Paula Radcliffe crying foul as some men are now self-identifying as women to make sure they get a run. Staying with sport, you won't hear this man on the TV anymore.
We're talking about vile abuse and things like that. Say he goes into the pitch and people start calling the names. Have we got to do the same as it is with the racist situation?
Yeah, Gordon Strachan appearing on the debate on Sky Sports, seeming to liken disgraced footballer Adam Johnson to the problems we have with race in football. We'll look at that story and plenty more besides, including a Brexit update here on LBC after the 9 o'clock news.
On your radio, on your phone, and here.
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 9 o'clock, the London Mayor Sadiq Khan says a new daily charge on older, more polluting vehicles will help clean up the capital's air and protect Londoners' health. From this morning, drivers of some cars and vans will have to pay £12.50 to go into central London under the new ultra-low emission zone. Non-compliant lorries, buses